striking a balance between conservation of nature and sustainability is a challenging task. It has huge complexities involved. And when we look at forest, for example, or biodiversity, and if we look at it closer home, the central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh, the challenges are immense because we are so rich in biodiversity, and protecting it is a very complex task. Susho, I would like to give him credit. Recently, we have become a tiger state. He has been in Pech, he has been in Satpura, he is in wildlife. He's playing a monumental role, and officers like him, before him, with him, and his juniors. We should praise them and all the services they have rendered. So I've seen them very closely. I remember I was trying to recollect. I met Sushovan first time in Pech in the 2002 monsoon when entry was not allowed.
Okay.
So I was there for conservation purpose. So when we look at forest, the Supreme Court incidentally simplified the definition in a Godavarman case in the 90s. And I don't recollect the area they specified. They said in a given area, if you have so many trees, it's a forest. And that was rather a misnomer, because forest has to be a living forest. It has to have layers. It has to have a grassy and a mossy surface. It has to have the tall trees, the bushes, and then the insect life, the worms, the birds, the bees. When all this is together, it's a living forest. And a living forest is such that it has the capacity to regenerate. And with this awareness, if we go to forests and look at our forests, we have to appreciate, we have to do a social audit. Those who are not connected with forestry and forest management, whether we are having living forests or a set or a given number of trees in a forest area. Normally one travels by plane from one big city to another. We go by road if we have short journeys or within the state. So normally when you are on a highway and you are going through a forest area, you see a lot of forest on both sides of the road. I had the opportunity of accompanying the Chief Minister on a Gram Sampark on helicopter several times. So what was an eye-opener was the moment you are going and looking down, you are watching the plateau. The plateaus have not just been cleared, they are constantly being cleared. There are pathways, dirt tracks that have been made from roads to the top, and there are tractor trolleys that are moving, and this is a non-stop 365 days process that goes on. And the plateaus are like a bald man's head in Madhya Pradesh. And then Madhya Pradesh, we have the Satpuras, the Vindhyas, the Mekal range. This is one of the best watershed in the world. We have the Narmada River, Son, Chambal, and so many tributaries. And in a way, Madhya Pradesh should be considered the water capital of India, because we ensure that the rivers and the water requirement of at least a dozen states in the country are fully reliant on water from Madhya Pradesh. I was talking to my friend Murthy, Srinivas Murthy. So he gave a very good explanation. When we were discussing this, he said, look at the Ganga River. Once it touches the Ganga Jamuna Dwar, once it goes to that area, all the water that it is carrying from the Himalayas would not last, the river would not be able to carry that beyond Allahabad. And it is basically the water from the central Indian highlands, and especially rivers like Chambal, joins Yamuna, Yamuna joins Ganga, and then you have this flow. And similar is the case with Godavari, Tapti, even in the southern part of, the southern side of Narmada. We have a similar situation. So how this watershed has to be protected is very important. We have been talking of minor forest produce. I recall the situation has not changed, and if it has changed, I'll be the happiest person if Sushovanji can tell me that it has changed. It's no more that. It was the year 93. It was the year 93. The Madhya Pradesh Chief Secretary asked me, Lalit ji, there is so much of water shortage, water table is going down. Why don't you do a tour of several districts, Jabalpur to Balaghat, Chhindwara, Kanha, all this. So I traveled in that area, left the highway, went into the villages, and I was for 15 days studying, and that made me a student of forest and wildlife, which I continue to remain now. I consider myself a student, and what I learned and gathered propelled me into founding an NGO devoted to wildlife and conservation. And what I saw, I was talking of minor forest produce. Two things I witnessed. One is for a good flush of tendu leaf. Because tendu leaf collection was a major economic activity. So they used to set the forest floor on fire before the flushing season, and as a result, the big trees around the tendu trees, because tendu trees were not there, they were pruned for tendu leaf collection. So the big trees around, the leaves would burn and a lot of sunshine would be there on the tendu bushes, and as a result there would be a good flush of leaves and a good crop. But this was not as much a problem as the problem involved when it came to collection of sal seed. Now sal seed is simple. The demand is immense from the confectionery sector. Sal has a chemical quality that the moment it's the sal paste, the glue, which is used by the confectionery sector. The moment you put it in your mouth, it melts. And it's in great demand, and it is an alternative to chocolate. The chocolate industry, there's a great demand. So the very fact that there is a great demand, it's an economic activity which pays a lot. So before the season for sal seeds to fall, they would again set the forest floor on fire, sweep away the ashes under the tree so that when the seeds fall, they can pick them up and fill their bags, and the dividends for them. So as a result, what we are losing, the mossy forest surface gets burned, the insect life gets destroyed, the worms disappear, the worms are not there to burrow the soil, make it spongy, it becomes hard. So when rain falls, it takes away the topsoil. And when water is not percolating, so we don't have streams or rivulets anymore, or rivers are not perennial, too much water is flowing into the rivers in too short a time during the monsoon, flooding them, and then rest of the time you have riverbed farming, even in Satpura. Whereas I remember in the 60s that there would be water in the rivers year round. So this is what's happening. Illicit felling. Now everybody knows how much it is happening, how much the foresters are protesting about it. They are agitating about it, that they are not getting the kind of security that they deserve. They are unable to check the amount of illegal felling that's going on, not very far from the state capital. And forest encroachment. It would be sweeping the problem under the carpet if we say that there is no forest encroachment. Very recently I did a film explaining how the forests are being burned, the forests are being cut down, and it is being encroached. and very little is happening. And the foresters, they say that their hands are tied. They have to protect their own service. When I said the challenge of sustainability, we have the Ghadial sanctuary, Chambal river, the entire river has been declared as a Ghadial sanctuary. Now I think that is a recipe for conflict. Because who would say that you don't need sand for construction? So I think there should have been some balance. A part of the river area, a part of a few banks could have been denotified, brought out of the sanctuary, where sand mining could have been allowed. And incidentally, I had done a film, The Last of the Ghadial, in 2006. I remember when the news appeared, the next day the Empowered Committee of the Supreme Court, they gave a notice to Madhya Pradesh government, the very next, based on the report, and that report was mentioned in the notice. And the next day when the Supreme Court stamped a ban on sand mining in Chambal, the ban continues even today. So although I initiated something, but I really feel sorry that why should the entire river be kept out of fulfilling the needs of the people as far as sand is concerned. That's one part. And then if sand is not required, do we have the alternatives? When we talk of alternatives, so much is being said about cooking gas and its availability for every section of society. But we have a law in place which allows every forest dweller and everyone living near forests to carry on head loads to fulfill their requirements. But again, there is a commercial angle involved in it. You go on a highway, Panna Chhatarpur road, it's still, I had a chance to drive down that road and I saw loads and loads kept next to the road for being picked up by big pickups to reach the market. I talked a bit about minor forest produce. One area which bothers me, which remains my concern, I will not take the hazard of naming anybody, but somebody who's a big name in herbal products was addressing a press conference in Bhopal, not recently, about 10 years ago. There's so much potential. I need 200 tons of this and that. So I asked him, I was attending the press conference. So I asked him, I said, if this is your requirement and this is your demand, if everybody starts fulfilling it, we will be totally degrading our forests in no time. And then there was a study done by MP Biodiversity Board after that in Chhindwara area, which was rich in Arjun trees. They have all died because Arjun ka khan uska bark le gaye. They've died. वो जंगल ही खत्म हो गए, वो रिवर के किनारे. So these are the areas we have to be very watchful and cautious. We're in Madhwa National Park. It once happened. I'll just share an anecdote. I'll not prolong beyond and I'll close. It once happened. I had the opportunity of going to Madhwa National Park, and when I went there, I saw some blasting was going on, dynamite blasting, and I wanted to check up what's happening. Went to the source of the noise that was there. So some fiber optics cables were being laid down. I took pictures, and it was a tendency that when I was taking the pictures, I decided that I will fix the location also. So I had some markers which came in my pictures. So I did it, came back to Bhopal. So I knew one thing, that fiber optics is being laid in Madhwa National Park. So the first thing I did with the wildlife department here was, is there any permission? Some responsible officer told me they are doing it without permission. And this was before monsoon. And then it so happened that there was a Vidhan Sabha session. I got busy with that. So I had one piece of information with me, which I felt is exclusive. I do some story sometimes. So post monsoon, I did a story. After some more checks, I did my checks. I did a story. The next day I got legal notice from Reliance. They said, with the notice there was a permission. With the date, a letter. So immediately that letter, the date and permission was all post monsoon. So immediately I could do a rejoinder There was a rejoinder and a notice, so I had my response to that rejoinder. And in my first news, I had not used that picture. In my second news, I did that picture. I said this was recorded before the monsoon. This permission has come post-monsoon. These both stories appeared in the Hindu. So the day the second story appeared, the Supreme Court served a notice on Madhya Pradesh government and also Reliance. And the decision, I remember it because I read the order. They said the permission has been given, the work has been done. But the law had not been followed. And everything was accepted. That it was post completion that the permission had been given, the work had been done. But still, since you have broken the law, the Supreme Court slapped them a 2 crore rupees penalty and said this should go to the Forest Department for wildlife conservation. So what I'm trying to say is, in every walk of life, there should be audit, there should be responsibility inbuilt, and a larger cause, so that we don't reach a situation where you have the United Nations Network Convention on Climate Change, you have the Rio Summit 1992, then India signing summit, becoming a part, and then the conference of parties every year meeting, India chairing it today. So what is important is an audit, the kind that you do. I have been a journalist and I have done blockbuster stories based on the CAG reports and your reports. And this is an area where I think there should be joining of hands. People from society should be very close, eyes and ears. And that's important. And how media can play a role. One last example before I close. Many years ago, there was a news item which said a certain executive engineer in the irrigation department has been arrested because they were showing on record some 30 bunds, kache band were constructed, but they were only on paper. So my research led me to finding out that this person was on a post-retirement appointment for last 2 years. So the only question that was asked is, only this 1% suspension, maybe jail, whatever, but who recommended his post-retirement appointment? Who gave a satisfactory performance report? Who was the inspecting officer? Now this is an area where when it comes to setting the responsibility, it is very important that we have to scan 360 degrees rather than focusing only on one. We have finished all responsibility. Accountability has been established and the world moves on. But if we have to reach these goals, the sustainable development goals, we are very far away from that. We make a lot of announcements, but we are very far away from that. I think accountability, transparency, development and sustainability is possible only when all of us join hands across systems, across establishments, and we are in a democracy. Let people be one with us and let's move on and deliver results. Thank you.